Hello, this is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Aging Like a Guru. Who, me? Well, part of aging like a guru is being mindful of the choices we make and how we perceive the world, and be curious about what it is that has us see the world the way we do and then live in the world the way that we do. I've been doing on Facebook on Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. I've been doing these podcast kind of things. Actually, they're little videos, live videos called Friday Feasts on Facebook. And the intention of these Friday feasts is to look at particular themes that came up in the week and then talk about it in relation to my work as a coach, what clients show up with, my writing and my personal life, and all over the place. So it's interesting. You may find this too, that during your week, like there's a particular theme that shows up, like, wow, isn't that interesting? That showed up again today, or it showed up consistently over a number of days or throughout the week. And so over the last couple of weeks, the idea of what, and I may have talked about this already, but where we take on the responsibility of other people's situations, other people's lives, to the degree that we harm ourselves and or harm them. And it's kind of an interesting situation. So quite often for people who have family members who are alcoholic, they have a challenging situation of when to go in and rescue versus saying, okay, my rescuing, it doesn't serve them. And it doesn't serve them because I'm enabling them to continue to use their substance of choice, but also it's harming me in how I'm being in this process. So how do I need to look at this so that I can detach from their life experiences, their life choices, and be more aligned with myself and myself and myself in them. And it's a huge undertaking. That's why there's Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's why there's Narcotics Anonymous and Pornography Anonymous and Sex Anonymous. All of these programs, debtors, retailers, eating, all of it, because at some point, quite often, we're helping another person, but we're not, and we're hurting ourselves in the process. Al-Anon or Nar-Anon, all of these different programs, adult children, teenagers, their teenage Al-Anon programs. All of these are to say, how do I be me in the circumstances of another person hurting themselves or harming themselves? How do I do that? So that's one element. Another, what kind of brought this up, triggered this whole conversation, was the potentiality to work with a client, this person who is an immigration lawyer. And if she loses a case, the individuals that she's there to support may go back, or will go back. If she loses the case, they'll go back to their home country where there's a potential, huge potential for more suffering and death. And that's terrible to live with, that level of responsibility, that if I fail at my job, this person's going to go back and perhaps be tortured and killed. That's horrible to live with. And yet, how do people do that? First responders, people in military, physicians. Again, I may have talked about all of this before, but it comes up for each of us, especially if we have people who we're taking care of or that we love. And how do we respond when they're in a situation where they need more care than I can give or that you can give? So quite often, we know, Alzheimer's is a very heavy process for the person in Alzheimer's, who has Alzheimer's, but the caregivers. It's a huge responsibility, especially if it's a partner or a parent or partner, or a child of someone with Alzheimer's. But any aging situation where there's a caregiver, how much are we caregiving, and are we doing it to the degree that it becomes a burden? We're burdening ourselves with our own stress, with the stress of taking care of another person. Huge conversation, because it's like what's the degree of obligation do I have? What's the degree of financial burdensomeness on this? What's the place of I'll feel guilty if I don't do this? If I don't take care of this person, if I put them in a home, I'm going to feel guilty. What's the degree of shame? I'm a bad person if I don't take care of. If I make the choice to say no, I can't take care of you. I'm not going to. What is the degree to which we do what we do so that we get some rewards out of it? If I take care of this person, then I look good. I look important. I get accolades, approval. I might get some money out of this or whatever it is. But those are like the four big reasons why quite a few of us do what we do to the point of harming ourselves. And so I question that reality that we live in where we harm ourselves for the sake of another person. Now, this can come to the idea of, the holiday season is showing up. This is the 22nd, I think, of November. So Thanksgiving is coming up soon and Christmas is coming up soon. And we do things out of obligation because we should. And that, again, coming back to that should question, I should because I should. This is an obligation that I must fulfill. And yet I'm upset about it. I'm not happy about it. I end up drinking too much. I may be grumpy and isolate. All of those things that we do because we are doing this out of obligation, as opposed to that place of I'm doing this because I want to. And again, in this is, I think, number 5 that I've done today, the podcast, in terms of this series of looking at who we are in this decision of what is it that what I feel I should do because it's my obligation versus I really want to. So the idea of honoring our country. And so the military person signs up to support and serve their country because they have that knowing and that heartfelt desire to serve. And the same with any first responder, EMTs, fire fighters, emergency people working in hospitals, nurses, all of these people who are first responders. But then it comes down to parents too, right? Because we take on the responsibility of these children and we're first responders. Teachers, coaches, all kinds of people are first responders. And do we do it out of obligation or do we do it because we actually love these beings that we want to serve? We love our country or we love our community. We love our family and we want to be there for them that way. My daughter and I have this conversation quite a bit because I think we all do. It's like, I feel like I'm obligated to do something here and yet I don't want to. And that point of, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it. That's a point where I think a life coach could be beneficial to say, how do I be in this dilemma? How do I be in this dilemma? Not what do I do in this dilemma, but how do I discern my higher values for myself? How do I discern and distinguish what's mine versus what I should do? And is this in the best interest of the person that I think I should serve? These are all really interesting questions. I find them interesting. That's why I ask them all the time with my clients. And I love the work that I'm doing because I say, who are you in there? And what's the most important thing to you? How can you best serve yourself in serving someone else? If we're not in service, we're in servitude. And if we're in servitude, we have to look at what's the source of that servitude. Why are we in service? Service, air quotes, servitude. It's usually obligation. I'm a victim. I have to do this. I'm oppressed. So my situation calls for this out of me. And if that's true, how do we shift your orientation so that this doesn't keep being a burden to you, but that you can actually shift how you see this, perceive it, so it becomes a gift to you and the person that you're serving? Big work. Big work. So when my daughter and I have this conversation about obligation versus, yes, absolutely, I'm going and loving it without harming myself, without over drinking, overeating, whatever it is I do to compensate for my frustration of not wanting to do this, it's a really good thing to do, to look at. So whether we're taking care of our partners, our parents, our children, this place of, or a country, this place of how do I honor this place in my heart that truly wants to be here in the fulfillment of this. That's the big question. And I ask myself that all the time. That's why I have this conversation with my daughter. It's like she has a perspective and I have a perspective, and it's not a right, wrong, good or bad. It's just we're both living with the same dilemma of how do you be you in circumstances that life brings you. So that's pretty much it for today. It's funny, I start out with these little tiny pieces and think, oh my God, I may not be able to talk 10 minutes, but I generally go over. I hope these are of value to you. If they are, please let other people know about them. Share them with others. If you're interested, there's a book called Aging Like a Guru, Who Me? And probably next year, 2020, I'll come out with a second book of these blogs and ideas about aging like a guru. All right, big hugs to you. Bye for now.